was that relaxation?
It was relaxing.
So today's topic is Size It Right. We're going to discuss portion sizes. The learning outcomes for today's presentation is learning to accurately interpret serving sizes, learning to be aware of measuring cups, spoons, and other measuring tools and how to correctly use them. And we're going to learn the difference between perceptual consumption, so how much we think we're eating, and actual consumption, so how much we're actually consuming. So without further ado, let's first go over some terminology. So can I get a volunteer to read the definition of portion for us all? Go ahead.
Okay, a portion is the amount of food that you choose to eat for a meal or snack. It can be big or small, you decide.
And can we get a volunteer for the serving size?
A serving is a measured amount of food or drink, such as 1 slice of bread or 1 cup, 8 ounces of milk.
And these definitions are going to come into play and be very important as the lesson progresses today, so just keep these items in mind. So how often do you use your tools? So by a show of hands, can I get an estimate of how many of us use measuring tools and spoons when we're following a recipe? Okay, keep your hands up for me. How many of us use measuring tools and spoons when we're not following a recipe and just using whatever we have in our kitchen, throwing a meal together last minute? Significantly less. So one thing that is going to be really important to take away from this lecture today is that measuring out your food is going to be very, very important. And it's going to be very important because it will help the Nutrition 157 students who you're paired with in accurately analyzing your diet, which ultimately will lead to your success in this program. So let's first go over how to correctly use a measuring tool or a measuring spoon. Step 1, fill up the spoon all the way to the brim. Little example, when I say a measuring spoon, this is what we're talking about, or those smaller ones. Step 2, take something flat and level it off to make sure we are right at the very tip top. And we will see this demonstrated in a moment, so we won't go too into detail. Some fun facts: it's also really important to know that the graded measuring spoons that we see up here are for dry ingredients, things like your rice, beans, cereal, that sort of stuff. And glass measuring cups are used for your liquid ingredients. So obviously we all know what liquid is: milk, water, that sort of thing. So if everyone can go ahead and take out this worksheet that you were provided at the beginning of the class today. Part of your brochure was just like this. It is on in the brochure, lower left-hand side. Do you all have it? Okay, so like we mentioned earlier, it's critical in your success with a weight management program to measure your intake. But that is idealistic. So we all know that measuring out exactly what you're eating, every single meal, every single bite of food you take, obviously is idealistic, and we know that life happens, and we know that that can't happen all the time. So another tool that we will be providing you with is the knowledge of how to estimate a serving size based on typical household items. So, reference to this activity in your brochure, we would like everyone to go ahead and fill out all the blank spaces. Use your best guess, your best knowledge, and educated guess, and we'll go over the correct answers in a moment after everyone's filled it out. No, you can use this. This is so healthy.
And don't they have the tool on the right?
Yes, so go ahead and use all of the references we provided. The right side of the brochure will help.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand. Okay.
All right, go ahead and finish up what you can right now. We'll have 1 more minute, and then we'll go over the correct answers. seconds. Time's ticking. You can do it. Okay, if we could have everyone's attention back up at the front. Write down your last answer. So before we go over the correct answers, how do we think that we did? Good, bad, indifferent? Okay. Anyone else? Well, let's go over the correct answers then. So here you guys can go over the correct answers. Nutrition 157 students, if you want to help them jot that in really quickly. So now that we can see the answers, how did we actually do? I see Erin and Mary Grace nodding heads. Good. Good. Now, Katie, how are you guys doing? Doing good? Jacqueline's nodding. Good. Rachel, how are you doing? Perfect. We like to see. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on. If I can get everyone's attention back up here, please. There will be time later to come back and fill this out. So, like we mentioned earlier, perceptual consumption versus actual consumption. So if I can get a brave volunteer to come on up and be part of our demonstration. Anyone? All right, we've got one. Let's give her a round of applause. Hi, I'm Desiree. What's your name? Tanya, welcome. Thank you for being our participant. Come on over. Okay, so this is a portion size demonstration. So remember, portion is what you choose to put on your plate and what you choose to eat. So in bowl number 1, could you please go ahead and portion out the amount of rice that you would typically eat. You can use this as if it was a serving spoon. So go ahead and just put whatever you feel like you would normally eat. Yeah, well, you can tip it and you can go faster.
That's more like it.
There we go. Let's be realistic, right? This is a very safe space.
I'm gonna be honest here.
Good. That's what we were promoting. Good. Honesty, awareness. Okay.
Oops.
Alright, that's about right. Okay. So if everyone can see portion size, what she chose to put on her plate, portion size. Now, we're going to have you test your skills about how to properly use measuring spoons. Do you remember the 2 steps?
You have to use for dry foods.
Good, good. Okay, so step 1.
And then put something
Good.
to level it off.
Excellent, nicely done. So if any of our returning participants remember the American Diabetes Association Choose Your Foods list that we introduced to you guys last semester, does anybody remember what a serving size for rice is?
Half, third of a cup.
All right, let's give her a round of applause. Okay, so we're going to give you a third of a cup, and we'd like you to actually measure out how many servings of rice you have. So we don't have anything to scrape it with, but you can go ahead and use the size of the bowl. It's rice, you pack it in there. There you go. And you can go ahead and measure it out into this one. So we've got 1. Can you have an official counter? 2, Kaylee, thank you. Official counter. Okay. Pack it in there. Okay, so about 3 servings. So that about, well,
3.5.
3.5, okay. So 3.5. So that can be the difference when we're trying to lose weight. We're, looking for that.
So you're not supposed to have one of these?
For the exchange, you would have to discuss that. You would have to discuss that with your nutrition student who's helping you with your meal plan. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. So she brings up a good point. We're only supposed to have 1 of these. That's something you will discuss in your meal plans. But so the point here is that to be very mindful of serving versus portion, because when it comes down to it, those 160, however many calories, those really add up, and that's what's going to make or break you in your success for this weight management program. So go ahead, everyone, and take out your food log. It's in your binder. You can just look at it really quick. We're going to just briefly look at this, you guys, so everyone's aware of our food logs. And just remember, the more detail, the more information you use apply your serving size and your portion knowledge. The more details you provide us nutritionists at 175 students with, the more accurate information we can give you to ultimately make you successful in this program. So in summation, the things we want you guys to understand from this lecture: use your handouts that we provided as an easy, reliable source of information. Use your visual tools as an easy way to establish references. So things up here we have displayed like the deck of cards, the dice, and it goes into the details on your handouts on those, so you can look on your own time and look at your things around your house, measure them out. And finally, utilize measuring utensils in order to distribute your food accurately. So do we have any questions?
If we don't know, we just kind of guesstimate. If we don't, like, guess and estimate how many we think it is.
Sure, so, but when you do want to estimate, you would want to make an educated guess. So, like we said, go ahead and always have those visual aids and references. It's the right side of your brochure. So you could use that. If you're looking at your plate and something looks about baseball size, you would be able to go from there, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? Go ahead.
So for the food logs, are we doing it like we did last time, 3 days, try and have at least one weekend day?
Yes.
Okay.
Good question. Good question. Anyone else?
Every week.